Welcome to our Yurtiful Life podcast. In today's episode, we will be discussing some common challenges that we hear of.
Hey there, Yurties!
Thanks for joining us today. For anyone new here, I'm Keegan.
And I'm Sarah. We've been living a minimal off-grid lifestyle for over 10 years now.
We have a large family and lots of experiences to share.
So let's get to it. Welcome to Our Yurtiful Life. Today we're going to be talking about common challenges. These are challenges that we have been asked a lot about in the past and some of the challenges that we've faced. So let's get into some common challenges when it comes to homesteading. First, one of the biggest challenges and hurdles that most people come to at some point in their life is, I don't have hands-on knowledge.
Right, and me personally, I can understand this one because I didn't grow up on a homestead. I grew up in the middle of the city, suburbia. I didn't grow up raising animals aside from some cats and dogs, fish. So really, I had no hands-on experience, where my wife had a lot of hands-on experience.
I grew up on a homestead, but even there, my family had to start somewhere, and I, as a child, had to learn. It is a lot easier when you get the knowledge passed to you from someone in your environment from a young age. But still, we all start at a place of not having hands-on knowledge and having to practice and take steps towards gaining the knowledge we want. So what is the first step you'd recommend taking?
So the first step we'd recommend is starting small. Really just starting with one aspect. What was making me feel overwhelmed when I really started thinking about homesteading was from a research perspective. I was researching and studying, and so I had the big picture in mind, all the different things, the moving parts that have to make a homestead, and that can feel overwhelming. So really what helped us was just starting small, just starting with some birds.
So for us, we started with poultry, which is one of the easiest animals to start with on a homestead. But look at what's around you. Look for opportunities, what is in your area, what is conducive. And if you aren't at the place to have property, and you've never taken care of an animal before in your life, you may want to start even smaller than chickens or ducks. Start even smaller. Could you get doves and just start training and taking care of something even that small that's going to take even less work than chickens, and start getting into the habit of caring for something else if you're coming from a place of absolutely zero experience at all with animals.
Right. If you say, well, that's great and all, but I'm legally not able to raise chickens, or I'm in the middle of the city in a little apartment complex, I can't do that kind of stuff. Well, you could start with some windowsill plants or patio gardening.
Right. If you're looking more to gardening rather than animal care, and you want to start with your garden, start where you're at. If you don't have property to garden, start very small. If you do have property to garden, but the thought of putting a full garden in overwhelms you, start with some container planting or one raised bed. Start small with what you can handle. And that is like the best place. When you don't have hands-on knowledge, having something small is manageable. It allows you to get that practice in without having to worry about it being such a big scale that you just ruin everything.
Yep. And also alongside this, finding someone to work with, especially someone who does have this experience. Maybe it's a friend you have right now who isn't actively homesteading, but they maybe grew up on something, or they grew up more in the country. So they have some practical knowledge. Just even having conversations with them, picking their brain about things, they probably know more than they realize, especially if they just grew up that way. They have more experience than they realize because they took it for granted. It's just how they grew up. And you don't have that background. So finding someone who's somewhat knowledgeable in your field of friends and talking to them.
And ask questions. Put yourself out there. You have to make yourself a little bit vulnerable if you want to gain knowledge. If you want to have the hands-on knowledge without the responsibility of owning the animals yourself or having your own garden to write off, then you need to do the work to find someone else who has those opportunities, who is willing to teach you. So maybe that means you're driving by a farm or a homestead and you put yourself out there and you ask, can I learn from you? Can I help you in return for knowledge? Find someone you admire or you know that is doing these things that you want to do, that you can learn from. And don't be afraid if you don't have anyone in your circle to learn from directly. If you have learned the knowledge through books, online, courses, things like that, if you have some basic understanding, then just start implementing in a small way and start practicing with the little bit of knowledge you have. That gives you the hands on knowledge.
So another common challenge that we hear from people are finances are tight, and we get this one.
A hundred
100%.
percent.
Again, the answer is kind of the same at the beginning: is start small. If you start with a small project that in your current financial state you can start with, you can also afford that loss. If the whole project goes south and you lose the entire thing, it's going to be a lot less of a loss than if you try to jump into something much bigger or already outside your price range.
And with along with finances are tight, you can also start looking for alternatives. Not everything you have to have has to be brand new off of Amazon. There are lots of secondhand sources nowadays. If you're not doing Facebook, you still have Craigslist and newspaper ads, things of that nature. There are a lot of sources where you can find secondhand equipment if you're getting into animals, um, secondhand gardening tools. So, yard sales are a big thing up here. And in the summertime, you can find a lot of used equipment at sales as you drive around. So really, you just need to be open to not everything being brand new and the top notch quality. And that's really been a blessing to our family to be able to take things that are secondhand, restore them, repurpose, and use them for ourselves.
And something that has been a great tool in the toolbox to grow when you have tight finances is creativity. Creativity is really steps in when you don't have the money just to buy something already made. You have to learn to work with what you have.
Creativity is free. You just use the brain you've been given. So for us, when we started doing seedlings and planting, we did a lot of container planting, but we didn't have brand new pots and things like that. We reused old pots or boxes. One year I did an entire garden was in cardboard boxes. Yes, by the end of the season, the cardboard boxes had disintegrated, but it worked really well to do a raised bed garden in the limited space at the property we were renting. It worked just perfectly. And we got a good harvest that year, surprisingly, out of our cardboard box garden beds. So
So at the end of the
it is
day,
doable. Use what you have.
finances might be tight, but it doesn't mean you can't be creative. You can start with a small project that's affordable. Look for those alternatives, and especially things you already own that don't require any extra finances.
Another big challenge that we hear is I'm single. I don't have a spouse. I'm doing it alone. I don't have guidance. I don't have help from another individual. And we get it. This is a hard place to be at. And we are very, very blessed to have each other and support from one another. But there are options. If you are going it alone and living a homestead lifestyle or wanting to have a Yurtiful life of some other sort, then you just do need to find other counselors and support that can encourage you on your journey.
Now, online has really drastically changed this game. The ability to connect with people and to find groups over multiple different media sites. So, really, we would recommend here starting local if you can. Local is always best, especially if they're already doing these kind of things in your region. They know what the issues are and what plants grow well and don't in that region. So, you'll have a lot better success there. The next step would be finding just groups, regardless of where they are in the states, finding groups that are thinking about these things and talking about these things. They may have access to resources or questions you haven't thought to ask yet.
So, the big thing is seek knowledgeable people you can trust. Find people who are in your area that maybe you can co op with. You can trade labor days at each other's homesteads. You can work together on projects. That's a big part of community. And so try to find community support. And if you don't have that, then still know you can do it alone. You don't need other people to help you. It just, again, Start small and
Right.
start with something manageable. Don't try to start a whole homestead with cows and chickens all at once on your own as a single woman or even a single man. It's probably not a great idea to start with everything at once. You will become overwhelmed and burn
And
out
then you'll just won't
easily.
do it ever again. So,
So start
yep.
small, start where you're at, take manageable steps, and do your research. And if you can, find somebody in your area or a group of people in your area that you can work with communally on bigger projects.
So another common challenge that we hear of is, well, my job. Due to my job, my employment, I have low time and energy. By the time I'm done with my work, I have very little energy to put towards any other thing. So again, we recommend.
Start small. This seems to be the big theme with everything. To avoid overwhelm, we always come across challenges. Start small. If you have lack of time and energy because of a job, we were there. We were there
Mm-hmm.
when we first started with
Yep.
blogging and everything. Keegan was working full time. So we started small.
Yep. So you have to start small, and really that's why this answer keeps answering all these issues. I think people like us, we tend to go all in. Once we study something, we decide to finally commit. We just commit full bore, and we overwhelm ourselves. We go in too deep, too much financial. We do too much all at once. So it's better to start small with a small project that's just a portion of what you think you can do. Therefore, it's not overwhelming. You learn if you run into issues, which we will. All projects run into issues. You'll be able to overcome them because it's not too much of a drain on your energy.
So, specifically, if you're low time, low energy because of a job, try to make a goal of what you can commit to each day, each week. Break it down into small chunks. 5 minutes matters, setting aside just a few minutes each day for research, for planning, for implementation. That will build up. It seems like a lot, it will take forever, but you will get there. You just have to make the effort to every day set aside time or set aside one day a week that you focus on this and make your goals come true.
And the last issue that we keep hearing about a lot is, well, physical limitations due to my age or health. Maybe I had an accident or a trauma injury, and that really limits my physical abilities.
And again, I 100% can relate with this. We have dealt with a lot of health issues and different stressors over the years, physical limitations, but we make it work. Again, 5 minutes matters. Start small, break things down into bite sized, manageable steps. And honestly, if we weren't together as a team, we wouldn't be doing everything that we're doing. I
Yep.
couldn't handle doing everything I do if I didn't have a loving, supportive partner. And yeah, it would be a very different life if we weren't doing this together. But one thing doing it together we've learned is we have to make it manageable. And I think that's a big lesson we've learned again and again over the years is breaking things down into small bits so that we can handle it. We don't have to take an entire week at a time. You take one day at a time and you break that day down into segments little by
Sufficient
little.
unto the day is the evil thereof.
So, the overarching answer to every homesteading challenge: start small, figure out what you can do, and do that one thing. So, don't be overwhelmed with the I can'ts. Figure out the I cans. It really is a mindset shift where you learn to focus on the positives rather than the negatives. You learn to focus on the I can do this versus the but I can't because. We all have excuses. You have thousands of excuses you can make why you can't do things. Those who choose a yurtiful mindset are the ones who choose to be different. Don't rely upon the excuses. You choose to go out, dream big, and discover your own life. You do it. You're not just thinking about it, you do it. And that is a choice that comes down to you. But you can do it. We are living proof.
Yep.
We have hope that you can do it too.
So we hope this gave you hope. We hope this podcast helps you and helps you to realize that you just need to focus on the positives. What are the positives? There may be only a few and a lot of negatives, but focus on those positives. Grow those. Start small around those. What are your skills? What are your assets? Use what you do have to your advantage and just get started.
All right, it's about time to wrap this up.
So please like, share, subscribe, and join our email list if you're able to.
And don't forget, go out,
dream big,
and discover your own Yurtiful life.